one way forward is to reunite and to see what is ancient and unifying us all. And I can see this way through the women, through the birthing of a new generation that knows a different way, that comes already into the world in a peaceful way. If it is how they are conceived, if it is in how the mother carries herself as nurtured, and if it is in what resources she is made available to, and if it also means that the children are born and are nursed by sisters, and the journey of relearning, and I do this every single day, what it means to be a woman. And a woman that is grounded, centered, alive, proud, connected to her source, her power, and from that place to bring life. And I pray, I think what more can be a prayer than to pray that from this body, life can come that will serve humanity and will serve peace and will generate a new generation that knows only peace.
All learning and all change takes place in the context of relationships. And I think we forget that sometimes. And because it's to steal a word of a friend, it's messy. And it's hard. It's because relationships take time, they take respect, they take acknowledgement. And I think that's the real challenge, is how do we build relationships with people? How are we patient with where they are in their knowledge to get information to them? So what I've also spent a lot of time reading about and learning from the people that I'm working with is how do we help people change that's respectful about where they are in their life. The first thing that I always start with is you have to be unbelievably mindful not to shame. My dad did a wonderful job of bringing me to terms with this, because when I was coming into a lot of information, it created conflict within me because I was raised a certain way, and I love my parents more than anything. They're just wonderful people, and I think they did a pretty good job raising me. But there were some practices that they did that conflicted with some of the things that I was learning. So I went to my father, my dad, who's not a very educated man, but a bright man, and I asked him, and I said, Dad, I'm learning about all these new things, and it kind of doesn't match with some of the things that you did when I was a kid, and so on and so forth. And he said, well, son, of course there's new things. And he goes, but we did the best we could with what we had been taught. He said, we did the best we could with what we knew. And he said, we really felt good about what we were doing. And he said, and he's real big about, you're no better than anybody else. And he's instilled that very much. No matter how many degrees you get, no matter how fancy your website is and all this kind of stuff, you're no better, and if you bring that, people sense it, especially where, at least I know from where I'm from, they will sense it. So he said, be careful not to ridicule or shame people for doing what they thought was best. We have to acknowledge that what they did was not wrong, but they did it out of love, and the intentions were pure.
My pregnancy also resulted in me understanding what some women called inner wisdom. I've seen this in many books subsequent to my birth, but hadn't heard of this concept actually whilst I was pregnant or before. But came to my own conclusion that there's something about the nature of pregnancy, the hormones, the life event, that can actually bring you closer to a sense of inner knowledge about what is best for the baby and the mother. And I would say it was that central issue that led me to actually having a home birth rather than going for a hospital birth, which was surprising to even myself. It was actually my baby that orchestrated the event. I felt in the latter part of pregnancy that was going to be the way I could have the best outcome. On a very deep personal level, I could feel that if I was in an environment which is fearful and worrying, and certainly my place of work and dealing with all the problems that pregnancy can result in, is an environment that conjures up those images. So in a sense, I felt that if I was away in a very comfortable surrounding such as my home, that my body would be able to unfold itself and return to that sort of inner knowledge that most women, not all, but most women, the majority of women, can give birth healthily by themselves as part of their health rather than as a part of disease. And I felt that my baby almost said to me, I will do it if you just give me the right environment. And I have to say, it was transformational.
Anybody want to ask her a question? I'm curious about, did it transform your work as a professional, this carrying this heart space? Say more.
I suppose the transformation was so deep that it leaves me speechless.
What's also very important to know when we breastfeed is that it is very important we breastfeed from our breast, because women, when they become pregnant, they develop also in their nipples a chakra that's got a special energy that feeds the baby in at an emotional level, a physical level, a mental level, and a spiritual level. It feeds the baby, so it's very important to breastfeed directly from the breast, because a bottle, there's no life in a bottle. When the baby's in the womb, it's not only the umbilical cord that feeds the baby, but it's also an energetic cord it's created. And the mom not only feeds the baby with physical food, but also with psychic, spiritual food. When the baby is born and it's taken away from the mother, and doctors cut the umbilical cord, and they, in addition to that, just remove the baby from the mother, they remove the baby's energetic, nurturing cord with the mom. And then after that, what happens is the baby feels abandoned. It feels it's gonna die, because the only two sources of nourishment he had have been abruptly cut. And we stay with those memories, and they stay impregnated in us. When the mom breastfeeds, and not a lot of women know this, but when we breastfeed our babies, there's a special energetic point in the mother's breast, in the nipple, that it's not only breastfeeding milk, but it's breastfeeding love, it's breastfeeding energy, it's breastfeeding nurturing. It's, all these feelings of security, of support, come through the direct touch of the baby's mouth and lips to the mom's nipple. The milk's only the physical part of nurturing, but babies don't only need food, physical food. They need all kinds of nourishment, which is spiritual, emotional, and mental, and all this comes through the mom. It's amazing if for clairvoyant people, if they can see people breastfeeding their babies, there's a huge energy here going on, and it's amazing, and it's pure love.
The time is past when we need brains that are rooted in a need to defend and protect, a brain that's impulsive, that's quick to react, that acts without thinking. The time is now when we need brains that are wired for cooperation, for interdependence, for empathy, for creativity, to innovate solutions to these sophisticated dangers that now face us. What we need to understand is that when a mother is pregnant, she is downloading instructions to her baby about what kind of world that baby's coming into. And that baby's brain will wire to either protect and defend against a dangerous world, or to have all of these qualities we need in the peacemaker so that it can thrive and grow. It's sometimes strange for people to understand the idea that the mother and the baby are a single biological unit. But the latest brain science tells us that even two adults engaged in this conversation, we right now are a single biological unit. Our brains link up. But it's even more concrete, and it's biological, and it's very direct between a mother and a baby. The key to meeting the challenges of the future successfully are going to be in raising up a generation whose brains are wired with these capacities of the peacemaker. And that relies on all of us stepping in to recognize and to champion that primary, essential connection between mother and baby. And it's that simple.